Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and thanks for joining me again. In this week's lesson we're going to look at the various ways that you can tackle playing lead and melodies over one of the most pretty chord progressions ever. And it's just two chords, 4 minor going to 1. You know, music really is all about these moments of transition, these things that we refer to as cadences. You know, moments of drama that then dissipate and resolve to moments of clarity and safety. And of course there are many different types of cadences and different ways to navigate from one chord to another. The one that they call the perfect cadence is the one that would be the most common. That's the 5 to the 1. So in the case of C, that would be like a G7 resolving to a C. That G7 being the moment of drama, the anticipation building that then has to resolve us back to the 1 chord C. But another cadence that's extremely popular, and one that for me always sounds very emotional and almost like a sad version of the 5-1, is the 4 minor to 1. The so-called Plagal Cadence. This is something that you'll hear being used by everybody from Chopin to the Beatles to Radiohead, and a lot of the old jazz standards contained these 4 minor to 1 movements. A very common progression, and this is how it sounds. So in the key of C, 4 minor is F minor, then that resolves to the 1, C. We call it a 4 minor specifically because, you know, in a normal harmonized major scale the 4 chord would be major, so we would expect F major to C if we simply referred to it as a 4-1. So saying 4 minor tells us that we've taken the 4 chord and modified it, making it minor, and then resolving it back to the 1. Okay, now let's break down some of the various ways that we could tackle playing the chords first of all. So F minor, of course you've got this bar chord here that you can always use, and a C major right in open position there. That's absolutely great. Don't necessarily need to do more than that. Now of course the first thing you want to do is explore all of the obvious alternative choices for that. So F minor off the A string with this bar chord, resolving to C on the low E string with this bar chord. But now what if we want to go a little further than that and get some deeper, richer tonalities? One of the many good ways to do that is to start looking at triads on the lower string sets. So for example, F minor to C on that 3rd string set. Starts to make it sound a little richer and a bit more organ-like. Get yourself down to the very lowest string set and we take that organ-like quality up to the next level. Really deep and rich sounding. F minor 1st inversion, C major 2nd inversion. If you've not seen my video about triads and how to create swing voicings and 3-note voicings from these lower string sets, do check that out. I'll link to it in the description. It's full of really useful information. One thing we talk about in that video is spreading these triads, and all that means is you take the middle note, so in this case the C note, and move it up 1 octave. Now we've got this beautiful voicing for F minor. And then the C major, if we do the same thing, take the middle note, the C, move it up 1 octave, you get this. So we're skipping the A string of course now because we've moved that note. Again, very rich. Nothing but major and minor triads, but they sound pretty special. Now what about if we invert those things? You'd have F minor here, C major here. What about if we invert them again? Now let's take it one step further than that. Let's try and bring in an extension. So one of the extensions that sounds right at home on the 4 minor is the 6th. So you're thinking F minor, 6. So one way to do that, F minor, bring in the 6th here on the B string 3rd fret. Very rich sounding chord, but not the most comfortable voicing for it. So at that point you could just simply take the middle chunk of notes there and leave the 2 E strings out. Resolve back to this C major. That sounds kind of cool. Inversions of the F minor 6. This one looks like a D minor 7 flat 5. It's because they're the same thing. And you can very clearly see in that voicing this F minor triad here. If you take the A string out of the equation, that's all you've got, F minor. Put the 6th in the bass. It's the way Barry Harris used to think about those chords. He used to think about it as the minor with the 6th in the bass. Next inversion. F minor 6 root position. That would resolve nicely to this C major. What about the next one up? F minor 6 with the flat 3 in the bass. Just realised I had my overdrive pedal on the whole time. I've turned it off, hopefully it didn't distort those chords too much. So now we've got fully clean tone. So here's your next inversion of your F minor 6 with the flat 3 in the bass. That would resolve really nicely to this C major, for example. You've got a lot of choices with these things, of course. Now let's go back for a minute to those spread triads, and let's take this one here where we had F minor with the 5th in the bass resolving to C with the root in the bass. Now with this F minor we had 5 flat 3 root. Let's replace the root with the 6th, so looking for that D note, and now we have this really pretty F minor 6 3-note voicing, which resolves a little sweeter to the C major. You can even do that little chromatic climb along the G string from the 6th of F minor to the 3rd of C if you want. So that's the option we go with for the backing track on this. I'm playing F minor to C, sort of gentrified. Of course, the lesson materials that accompany this one are going to be very thorough. I've written out the chords as well as the lead stuff. And as usual, you get Guitar Pro and PDF formats with the audio track embedded into the Guitar Pro file. I've also included a few different versions of the audio on this. I've included my backing track that I created totally from scratch, of course. But I've also done a mix where it's just the guitar and the drums, so you can hear the lead guitar much clearer with none of the other stuff around it. And of course I've included the original performance recording as well. You can get hold of all this stuff at the links in the description. I have a Patreon page where for a very small monthly fee you can get access to everything I've ever done, so well over a year's worth of weekly lessons now, plus a load of bonus stuff. Or if you just want this one lesson in particular, you can purchase it at the Gumroad link. Either way, thanks so much for your support. Now let's move on to the lead playing portion of this lesson, but before we get into the nitty-gritty of exactly what I play in the solo, let's look at some of my plans of attack, my methods of how to pick the right notes over these chords. So of course it's very important that you've got your basic triads down across the fretboard. So F minor, we're talking root, flat 3, 5, root, flat 3, 5, root, flat 3, 5, and so on. You want to plot these things out in a few different ways. I often talk about triad stacks, and I think that's a good way to start. So for example, you could start with this F minor bar chord as a frame of reference, take the top 3 strings, that's your first inversion F minor triad on string set 1. For the next string set, you're simply going to move the top note down 1 octave. Repeat the process again, top note comes down 1 octave. Now you're on your 3rd string set. Top note comes down an octave. Now you're on your last string set. So here's that stack of F minor triads. The next position would have us starting here with what looks like an open D minor chord dragged up to F minor. Move the top note down an octave, then repeat the process again, and then one more time. And then you've got your next stack right there. The next one would start on the top 3 strings of what would be this regular kind of A-shaped F minor bar chord. This is your root position triad because this is perfectly in sequence. Root, flat 3, 5. Take the top note down an octave, repeat, repeat. Now you've got that final stack of F minor triads. It's also really good to sort of move horizontally with these things. Lots of different ways to break it down. Obviously you want to do exactly the same process for C major, so I'll just quickly rattle through those. Let's start with the top 3 strings of your A-shaped C major chord here. Again, it's that process of moving the top note down an octave each time to find your next string set. Next position, the top 3 strings of this E-shaped C major chord. Final one's the top 3 strings of your C-shaped chord. This portion is the one that hangs over from the D shape on the other side. I'm going to move that down an octave to open position. there we have it, C major triads. Again, move them horizontally. Get used to plotting them out in a lot of different ways. Now, something else that I mention a lot, especially in my Mark Ribot videos and any Django related videos, is this idea of a 1, 2, 3, 5 arpeggio. Now, of course, if you've already got your 1, 3 and 5 plotted out, in this case because we're dealing with F minor, that would be 1 flat 3 5. It's a simple case of just chucking the 2 in, right? And that's always going to be between the 1 and the 3. 1, 2, flat 3 5. Repeat. Again, I'm choosing to move horizontally here. Very cool sounding group of notes, super melodic. Do it in static positions as well. Then do all the same things for your C major. 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 5, 1. At that point you've got the majority of a C major pentatonic scale, there's just one note missing. One nice little tip when you're using that group of notes, this is something I picked up from listening to a lot of Mark Ribot, start the phrases on the 5th. Sounds really cool. So F minor, 5, 1, 2, flat 3, 5. Something dramatic about starting on the 5th. For the C major, now let's explore bringing in a 6 instead of a 2. So for example, F minor 6, root, flat 3, 5, 6, root, flat 3, 5, 6. Across as many octaves as you can. Again, it's something you want to plot out vertically, but also horizontally. Immediately very Django-y, right? That F minor 6 sound, beautiful stuff. Another option for our C major chord would be simply to use the entirety of your C major pentatonic scale. It's always going to work really nicely. And then the final way we'll discuss sort of pimping out that F minor right now is to use the entirety of an F melodic minor scale. Has a really beautiful tonality, doesn't it? Minor 6 with the major 7 on top, minor 6 with the 9 on top, all resolving beautifully back to your C major. Very pretty. Like I say, the chords that you can generate from that scale are pretty special as well. You know, F minor major 7ths, F minor 6s with the major 7th on top. All these things resolve back to C in such a beautiful way. And of course, who could forget the F minor major 9? The true blunt bolero chord. Okay, so with all of that stuff in mind, let's get onto the lead study where you'll see it all applied. Immediately a blend of a couple of the elements we just discussed, things like the 1, 2, 3, 5 and the 6th being added. And then C major comes along, so we resolve to the major 3rd of that chord on beat 1. Now we simply carry that note along to the next note of your C major arpeggio, that's your 5th. Back to the F minor, very similar thing to what we just started with. things like the 2, the flat 3, the 5 and the 6th. And then we go up to this note here and bend the G string a whole step from the 7th fret, ending up on 2 notes from a C major triad, country bend style. So that's over the C major chord. And then there's a very quick little dab onto that 7th fret. Barely audible. Back to F minor. Just walking down things from the F melodic minor scale, right? Starting out with 2 notes from the triad, thinking of this, and then just descending the melodic minor along the B string, resolving up to the major third of C again as the C chord arrives. A little bit of major pentatonic with a bluegrass flourish. Also liberal use of the tremolo arm. You know, this guitar, beautiful feeling tremolo on it. It's just very inspiring. Anytime I hit a chord, I'm going through a phase of tremoloing the hell out of it. Walk down to the F minor root. Actually, just quickly to mention about that C major phrase. This is something you've seen me talk about in my Americana videos, this C sus2 kind of sound. Really pretty over a C major chord. And then we're walking down to meet the root of the F minor, and then we're back to this. Reversing that 6, 5, flat 3 and 2 stuff. And then C major, that fat Hammond organ sounding low string triad. Now we mentioned Radiohead earlier on, and what I play here is a very Johnny Greenwood-esque kind of idea. In the song My Iron Lung, which is a great song, he uses it over a C minor chord. Here we're using it over F minor. It's that interval you've seen me use plenty of times in the Rebo studies, and a Barney Kessel favourite, right? Cry Me a River. Prime example. It's that minor chord, minor third, and the 2nd degree of the scale, or the 9. You know, those 2 notes butting up against each other in that really angular way, building tension and resolving down to a really innocuous sounding portion of a C major triad. And then we take that same approach again, but explore a bit more of the melodic minor scale, letting everything ring as much as we can, and then resolving to this little C major sound again. Another thing from a triad, C major triad 2nd inversion, just the low and high strings of that. And then, keeping that lowest note, add the 10th fret of the B string and the 8th fret of the top E. One of those Johnny Smith style voicings for a C major 6th chord. So that's like a C major 6 sound. Mixtures of Radiohead, Johnny Smith, Bill Frisell. I mean, all of this stuff should be just melted together to create this goodness. Next phrase over the F minor 6, I'm just going to arpeggiate my way up this chord voicing. That's an F minor 6 inversion there with a flat 3 in the bass. Come down the melodic minor scale and then resolve to the 8th fret of the B string. As the C chord lands, of course, that's your 5th of the C. And then one of those bluegrass tricks. It's a nice little move. We've used it in other videos, but I'll go over it again. Hammering in to the lower 2 notes of this C major triad. And then keep that 2nd finger where it is. Put the minor third on top only briefly, and then slide down to the 2nd degree of the scale. And then grab the root. So again, there's elements of a few things there, right? The major pentatonic. And also that idea of just simply 1, 2, 3, 5. Great stuff. Now we switch to the bridge pickup, give it a bit more bite. It's a little bit hotter, the bridge pickup here, so it's going to sound a little more driven. And we play. Ramping up our intensity, getting a bit more dynamic. That's that great 1, 2, 3, 5 stuff again on the F minor. And then bringing in the 6th, bending up a whole step, as the chord changes to C. Of course, now we're targeting the major third. Then let it come down a bit, release it, bluesy style, pull off to the root of the C major chord. And then one of those late hammer-on things again that we've often spoken about. Now we're going back to the F minor again, where we play this. And then resolving to C on its root note. Just to go back over those notes, we're bending the root note of F minor up a whole tone to the 2. So again, it's all that 1, 2, 3, 5 type of stuff. And then flat 7 bending to the root. Really, this is all like C minor pentatonic at this point. And then there's your root of the C chord. And then we're going back in for more of that angular, clashing minor second stuff. Rebo style, Frizzell style, Greenwood style, Johnny Smith style, Morricone style. You know, it's very spaghetti western, that. Especially with the tremolo arm. So over the F minor, that's your minor third and your 9. Same thing as the 2, of course. Those two notes together, because they create that 7th interval. You know, they sound very dissonant and jarring in a really cool way. And then F minor triad, where I'm kind of raking through. And then resolving to C, courtesy of the flat 3 bending to the 3rd. And then a bit of bluesy stuff. Just simple blues scale things. Tending to bend that minor third towards the major third whenever possible. And then the final phrase of the whole thing, over the F minor chord, we go full Radiohead here. Resolving to C. Bending the 6th of the F minor, a semitone, to the flat 7. Down to the 5th, and then thinking C major, resolving on to the 5th of that chord, and then playing its root. You know, check out tunes like In My Life by the Beatles. There's plenty of 4 minor action in there. Loads of their songs do, to be fair. That's just the first one that came to mind. Also, of course, Sleepwalk, which I recently featured on this channel. You got the 1, 6, 4 minor, 5. Love Me Tender. And how about My Iron Lung by Radiohead? You can really hear that 4 minor, can't you, when it kicks in? And of course, it's an integral part of any blues turnaround. There it is. A subtle way to do it, but that's your 4 minor, right? F minor 6 to C. Check out my advanced blues soloing lesson from a couple of weeks ago, going over a gospel turnaround. That's that exact progression. And like I say, most jazz standards have the 4 minor movement in there at some point. Take, for example, All of Me. You got the 4 to 4 minor, to the 1, to the 6, 2, 5, 1. Or I'll See You in My Dreams opens with it. 4, 4 minor to the 1. Very nostalgic sounding for me, has a really emotional punch to it, carries a lot of weight. Remember that you can book in for a private lesson at the TidyCal link in the description. It'll show you all of my availabilities and you can select your time slot. It takes care of all the time zone conversions, so nothing to worry about there. And you'll get a recording of the lesson and all of the materials associated with it. Don't be shy, I really want to meet you guys. Come and say hello. I've finally enabled the feature that allows people to become members of this channel. For those of you who use the Buy Me a Coffee page or email me asking for ways that you can help out, make donations to show your appreciation, this is how you can do it. Become a member, you get a nice little icon next to your name, and the £4 a month just helps this channel to keep ticking over. So a little bit of gear talk. This guitar, of course, is a new acquisition for me. It's a Novo Myris, and it's a fantastic guitar. I've fallen head over heels in love with the thing. 2 Fralin P90s, hollow body, nice and light, mastery trem system. The Jazz Master style trem has always been my absolute favourite type of trem. It's just so floaty, so dreamy sounding. The setup on this thing is just absolutely flawless. Incredible nut work and fret work. Really nice neck profile. Sanded down on the back. I think it's roasted maple. Nice and solid. Made in Nashville, of course. No grain filler, so the paint really sinks into the wood in a really pleasing way. Very textured looking. Don't know how well it comes across on camera. So yeah, colour me impressed. This has been a very inspiring guitar for me, and I have some really exciting lessons coming up on the horizon that feature this and its unique tone right at the forefront. For the opening performance, I was running through a Lazy J 10 amp, which is just like the lower wattage brother to the Lazy J 20 that I've had for over 10 years now. Fantastic amp, beautiful built-in tremolo and reverb as well. Plus a bit of overdrive from the Brown Amp's Carbon V2 overdrive pedal. And for the bridge pickup section in the performance, I boosted that a little further with a bit of Noble's ODR1, with the gain very low. I was using the gold sparkly anniversary edition of that pedal. Those are 2 of my favourite overdrives on the planet. For the lesson portion of the video, due to my own laziness, couldn't be bothered to move things around, so I was plugged into my old 69 Deluxe reverb amp. Okay everybody, thanks so much for watching. I hope you got something really good out of this lesson. I feel like it's so important to practice these set routines of a particular cadence, in this case the 4 minor to 1 movement, because it's going to crop up in most of the songs that you play at some point, and it's really important that you already have it mapped out and have some well-trodden paths ready to use. Okay, so please do like and subscribe, make sure you leave comments. All of the interaction is crucial for the growth of this channel. It's really what makes all the difference for how visible these videos are on YouTube. It's a very cruel algorithm, and it doesn't take any prisoners. So yeah, please do help out with that stuff. Only takes you a second, doesn't cost you anything, and it's massively appreciated. Okay guys, I'll see you next time for something completely different. Take care.